Hey there, it's Johny-J here, and welcome to another episode of the 3C Show. And as always, I am super excited to be here and just give a shout out. I got my new green screen. So this is actually a photo from a light painting assignment from Renee from the Team 3CX Landscape and Nature Photography community. Check this out. Look at it. How cool is this? It's like an abstract green. I'm just going to move out of the way so you can see it. Look at that. Super cool. Light painting. Masterclass, and I just wanted to show that. Well done, Renee. I think you've got some beautiful photographs there. That was from a couple of months ago, but I think it makes a pretty cool, funky background. So, light painting there, and just one of the things we've been doing in the Team 3CX community. By the way, if you're interested in taking your photography next level, taking your landscape and photography, smashing out your photography goals, the Team 3CX community is here for you. If you want to find out more about that, help at 3colors.co. It's a group, it's a community of photographers growing together in their photography. Never feel lonely in your photography or stuck again, because that's what this community is for. All right, let's get into this week's show. This week, we're talking about bad weather. And why are we talking about bad weather, Johnny? You might be saying, by the way, here's my socials if you're looking for it. Got some new software I'm checking out, so I'm still trying to get used to it. But anyway, if you're on social and you want to follow along, please jump on. I'm going to do better this year, moving forward with social media. So there I am. Follow me, send me a message, and I'll follow you back. All right, let's get into it. So we're talking about bad weather photography. All right, let's turn the music off. All this live stuff, I'm getting used to it. Look at me go. All right, so we're talking about bad weather photography, and the reason we're talking about bad weather photography is because when there's bad weather, and often when that weather's breaking or just before that bad weather, that's when we get the most amazing, epic light. So let's jump in over here. Look at me down here, little Johnny. Look at this, mate. Oh, the technology. Look at it go. All right, so this is, again, this photo in the background, bad weather, great light. This is after some storms have blown in, and you can see they've moved out, and we've got some rain there, and the sun's actually behind me, and we've got this epic, little rainbow here, long exposure. Let's keep going through the presentation. And just like, again, this was Tom Marie National Park, Zenith Beach, and it been grey, and I thought, oh, you know what, saying, 95% cloud cover, which isn't great, we're normally looking around 75% and nice high cloud, but looking at this, you can see, the light broke out where the sun was coming out, and we got some amazing light coming in and just lighting up the beach, and I ended up shooting away just for these beautiful orange tones here. And this next one, baby, how epic is this? Again, it was predicting 100% cloud cover. We got this little slit after sunrise. The sun's popped up. We have got a bit of a bright highlight here, but who cares? Look at this foreground. Amazing. This is actually little bubbles, long exposure. The bubbles running out with the ocean there, and you can see these amazing little streaks of light. Absolutely, I've never captured anything like this ever again. It's the one and only. And I probably had a minute maybe where that sun was in that gap there, and it just all come together. So you can see, bad weather, often before bad weather, after bad weather, you can get some amazing epic light. So if it's absolutely pouring down and it looks like the rain's going to break, or you've got storm cells going through, obviously, if there's lightning around, stay safe. But you can get some amazing light. All right, so I want to tell you a little photo story. Okay, so the other afternoon, I was like, you know what? We had 3 days of absolutely pouring down rain. It was getting late in the afternoon, and we've got really late sunsets here. You can see like 8 p.m., and this was about 7 p.m. this day. And I'm like, oh man, you know what? I think this is going to break. And I'm looking up at the clouds from home, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, you know what? I think we're going to have a break in the cloud here. I think it's going to open up. It's opening up down out to the west. The sun's setting in that sort of the southwest west at the moment. And I thought, oh, we could have something good on here. So I've opened up the TPE app and looked at this direction. This is Kingsley Beach in Tom Marie National Park, actually near Boat Harbour. Looked at the sun direction, looking good, and had these foreground elements in mind. Okay, these are little pools that you often see, and you only see at low tide. So I checked the low tide, make sure we're going to have that low tide there. So I'm doing my planning, doing my scouting as I'm looking at this sky starting to break up. Okay, so I have been to this location, so I've seen these foreground elements before that I've wanted to use. All right, but I know they're a low tide spot, and I happened to look, and it was almost low tide. So perfect. I knew they were going to be exposed. Okay, so this is all part of our planning. And this is what we're looking at, okay? You can see as the sun's starting to set, we're starting to get these pockets of open, we've got, you see up the top here, you've got this big cloud up the top, and that's where the sky was fully grey 100% this day. And then looking down, you could see we're starting to get these little breaks in the cloud. That's what we're looking for, these little breaks. It doesn't mean that we get out there and it's going to be perfect. You might get out there and all of a sudden there's one of these big clouds comes over and blocks that light, and we don't get any light peek through these little broken bits of cloud here. But you just never know. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm thinking, here's my foreground. Main subject is going to be the sky. Secondary is that rocks. And obviously, complementing is this foreground elements. That's what I'm thinking. These are phone shots, guys. So these are just little snapshots I've taken on my phone to help tell this story. So if you're wondering, oh, these photos aren't that good, well, that's because they're just little phone shots, okay, to help tell this story. All right. And while I'm looking at these, I'm thinking to myself, look, it's starting to happen. It's really starting to happen. These are this high cloud I was telling you about. Here's the high cloud that's broken up. Here's their breaks here. And this is probably, 15, 20 minutes later after that last Photoshop. And you can see we're nearly at sunset. And I'm thinking it's going to happen here. We've got some lower cloud over here as well as this big high cloud for it to reflect off. And you can see it's already starting to reflect that light, okay? So I'm thinking to myself, well, all right, I'm getting my camera out. I know I want a wide angle lens, okay? I know I want to take in that foreground and I want to show up some sky, and I want to show that beautiful setting sun. So here's my setup, full frame camera. I've gone into portrait orientation to try and get that big long perspective, wide angle lens. You can see them at 16 mil there, okay? And I've also made some creative decisions around filters, okay? So I've gone for a polarizing filter so that you can see my filter stack there. So I'll just tell you about the filter stack, how I've got them stacked up, okay? So I've got my polarizer on, and then I've got a 3-stop graduated filter, and then I've got a 3-stop reverse graduated filter on the outside. So they're stacked all together. The polarizer sits in the back here of the circular, and these little wheels that help you turn it around. And I'll talk about why I've gone for a polarizer in a minute, okay? So there we go. That's our orientation. And here you can see this is the polarizer, okay? It sits inside this Nisi filter kit. I'm not sponsored by Nisi's, just the ones I use, guys. But it sits inside of there. So that's the polarizer. That's the first thing you see on there. And then the second thing you can see is this graduated filter, this 3-stop graduated filter, and that's pulling the sky down from the top. And then we've got this reverse graduated filter, so it's hard on the edge, and then it reverse graduates up, okay? And the reason why I've stacked these is because I put this on first, and I'm like, oh, it's just not enough. The top of the sky is still a bit dark. So I popped the graduated filter down just to pull down the top of that sky. And, the brightest area is where that sun is, right? So this is why the reverse graduated filter works so really, really well, because it runs along the horizon line there, especially things like seascapes or open plains, where you haven't got anything sticking up too far into the clouds, which is just awesome, okay? So they're the filters I had on there. To pull it down, you can see that's my composition. So we've got the two big circles, and the circles moving out, then we've got the rock there and the sun, the clouds lining up, and it's just a matter of waiting now. All right, and I will talk about the polarizer a little bit more, but basically, if you can think, the polarizer was just to open up. I thought, if I don't have the polarizer, what am I going to see? I'm going to see reflection on these first couple here, these first maybe 5 or 6 little holes, okay? And I want to see into those. I want to see detail. There's little shells in there, okay? So I'm thinking about details. This is a creative choice, I could have gone with no polarizer, had all the light reflecting on top of the surface of these and not seen into these little pools, okay? But I decided to use it. So further on, you'll see what I mean by this, okay? So let's keep going. As we're going on, you can see, I'm at f16 at the moment. I'm getting about 20 seconds. I've got a low ISO, okay, at this point. And the reason why I'm still at f16 is, f8 to f16, focus the third in to the scene. I'm focused about here somewhere on the back of the camera, about a third up to the scene. You can see in here, and that's where I'm focused, okay? All right. So if you look sort of in line with the viewfinder, the bottom of the viewfinder there, around that f16 sort of line across the back of the screen, that's about where I'm focused, all right? So a 2-second timer on, so I can, take my hands away and get that longer shutter speed, okay? Again, longer shutter speed, creative choice. If you look back here, you can see in the top left corner there that there is a bit of movement. There's a bit of waves. It was a little bit windy this day, okay? So I'm thinking, creatively, I want to calm things down more. So I'm going to shoot a long exposure. So that's why I'm at f16 at the moment, okay? And you can see the clouds. It's starting to reflect now. We're starting to get that. The sun has really dropped here, and we're starting to get the reflection. It's about that's turning on. You know, this is where the epic light is starting to come. I've taken a few frames before now. You know, I took some while the sun was up a bit higher here above that rock, and I had somewhere there was a starburst. Okay, so I did take a few frames on the way down, and don't be afraid. You know, once you get your composition, take a few frames before, zoom into the back of the camera to 100%, having a look and make sure you've got your focus set. Okay, because focus is something we can't fix in post. Okay, so I'm zooming around in the back of the camera. I'm looking, you know, at 100% to see exactly, you know, if I've got everything nice and sharp. All right, so let's just keep going now, and you can see here's what happened. Here's the light. This is when it turned on. Epic. And these are only phone shots, guys, so these, you know, obviously look hypercolor, a bit oversaturated. So, okay, so these are just phone snapshots from the back. All right, so let's go in and see, and finally, you know, here's what we ended up with. Here's our photograph. All right, and you'll see, you know, I'll zoom in, I'll go up a little bit further, but you can see how nicely you can see entire, I think the next one you can see, yeah, you can see how nicely you can see inside these pockets here. All right, and that's because of the polarizer. All right, that's what the polarizer has done. Okay, in the end, and it's allowed me to see inside these, and there's a different texture in there, and there's little shells in there, and a different color, you know, where it's rimmed, and I think that's really, really pretty seeing in those. Creative decision. Okay, I could have left that, and I would have had more color reflected in those, but I wanted to see into them, so I've adjusted my polarizer till it's taken off that glare off the top of these little puddles, so that I can see into them. Okay. And we're going on now, and you can see out further. Okay, so these ones are still being polarized, but as I move out, you can see these other pockets up here, pockets of water, are reflecting the light. Okay, so the polarization isn't affecting this area, and it's making it, you know, being able to reflect, and I really like that. It gives separation between the rocks, and it reflects that light. And you can also see up here in the top left corner, you can see the long exposure now. So I'm thinking I'm getting out to 3 or 4 seconds or 5 seconds now, and I'm getting that long exposure, and it's calming things down up in that top corner. Creative decision. Okay, creative decision to do that, to try and get that longer exposure. All right, and then in the end, you can see the sky. All right, so, you know, we had that reverse graduated filter that lines up with roughly the horizon line. Then we had the graduated filter that comes down from the top and pulls that top highlight down, and you just move that down to adjust to get everything in one exposure. Now, my scene was probably underexposed by about a stop. Here's our final photograph. I'll go back to that for you guys. So my scene was probably underexposed by about a stop, but I know with my camera, I can handle that sort of dynamic range, so there's no problem there. And compositionally, you can see, you know, I've tried to balance out these circles in the left and the right, and building through with these little reflections. And then we've got this, you know, sort of secondary element here that's really, really nice, this rock formation. And of course, for me, the main subject for this is these clouds. All right, the clouds and the color. And the main subject can be that. It can be the sunset, it can be the clouds, can be the cover. That's the thing that stands out to me, you know. And the long exposure, not only has it made things calm and made the water nice and calm, it's created a more reflective surface. You know, when you shoot those longer exposures and get rid of those waves, it gives the light a chance to bounce off that. I don't know, something magical it does, okay, with a long exposure. And that's about it, you know, that's about it with this shot. You know, I usually, what I would do is I would go out, and if it's a location I don't know, I would go and check out that location and get TPE out and check the sun direction and look for a foreground now, and look for a way composition away from the sun, because sometimes we want to shoot away if the clouds move and something happens. But, you know, sometimes, you know, creatively, last minute, I knew about this location. I've never seen it in this amazing light like this. I have got other photographs of it, but nothing like this, you know, and not this very similar composition, because it was quite a low tide, exposing all these beautiful circular areas. So sometimes creatively, you know, this is the thought process when you get yourself to that place with your photography where you're not always worried about, oh, what's that setting I'm meant to have? What's this meant to have? And you can get to that place where it's just, you're just making decisions purely about creativity, okay? And you can see, you know, this weather's opened up, and this bad weather is turned into something that's just absolutely amazing, okay? So always be keeping an eye on the weather. Is it breaking? Is it going to open up around sunset, around sunrise? You just never know. You might get that little pocket. Sometimes you just get this little pocket that opens up near your setting sun or rising sun, and then lets that light in to reflect off that high cloud, and boom, just a magical light display like this. So that's just epic. Anyway, Look, guys, I want to do something a bit different for this one. I wanted to share a little bit of a photo story, share a bit of my thought process as I was moving through taking this photograph from, being at home, seeing those gaps in the clouds, and then thinking, where would I want to shoot? Because I'll shoot in my local area. It's only 15 minutes up the road where this location was. So I was able to get in the car, and I knew there was some great foreground there, knowing that it was low tide, and being able to use my filters to pull that sky down and compositionally fill the foreground with those little pockets of polarized water, so I could see into those while keeping the reflected ones up further. So it's all about little creative choices, and I think when you get to that place with photography, it starts to be really exciting. It's exciting because you're making all these little creative choices, and you may be doing that now and not even realizing it. All these things we do are all little choices, little things that stack together to create that final impactful photograph. All right, so awesome. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I hope you've stuck with me. I hope it wasn't too rambly. Please give me some feedback below. I'd love to hear what you think about this style of presenting. I know it's a little bit different than what I normally might do, but I'll tell you what, I just wanted to share with you something, just my creative process, okay? Just my creative process of a photograph. And I think I might, if you guys enjoy this, I think I might do this a little bit more. It's really good fun, and thanks for sticking with me. I know those phone shots, they're a little bit janky, but that's okay. It gets the story across. If you got any comments, questions, something I've done wrong, something you think I could do better, or you've got some feedback about filters or questions about filters, please leave them below. And as always, this has been Johnny for 3 Colors, and man, we're here learning landscape and nature photography together. And remember, it's end of 2020. I can't believe it. It's crazy. 2020 is done, and we're moving into 2021 very, very soon, in just a few days. So I wish you and your family have had an awesome Christmas, and I wish you all the best for the new year. And I just can't wait to keep helping you with your photography again. So please leave me some feedback, leave me some comments and questions, and we'll talk again really, really soon. All right, peace.